It's great to have you with us from wherever you're tuning in from. For more information about Elevate Church or to contact us, head to our website elevatechurch.me and take us wherever you go by downloading our Elevate Church AU app. We hope this message inspires and helps you to take your next steps in your journey.
So anyway, you probably noticed that these days there's this whole new phenomenon, thanks to the internet, called online reviews. Anyone noticed that? You know, we can review the cafe and restaurant that we just went to. We can review the hotel that we just stayed at. We can review the item that we just purchased. Now, some of you will remember that 20 years ago, it was only the professionals that could do that stuff. You know, there was a job called a restaurant reviewer. And if you wanted to know whether a cafe or restaurant was any good, you'd have to go and buy the magazine or open the newspaper. And an actual professional who knows what they're talking about would be the one that wrote the stuff. But now, you know, you can just drop it anytime you want if you've got access to the internet. So, some of you know this, cafes and restaurants like the Premier would be Yelp. So, you know, often we might go and read the Yelp review before we decide whether to go to that place. Hotels, there's quite a few. TripAdvisor is probably one of the main ones. Reese, I think they're coming for you, bro. Did that guitarist just play worship songs with a sleeveless shirt? Oh, it's not allowed. And then, you know, online reviews of online purchases. Amazon is kind of one of the things. Now, anyone in the habit of leaving reviews? Do we have any reviewers here? No? Me neither. You get the emails. Hey, we'd like to hear how you went. And I'm like, I'd like to hear that you're going to pay me for the next 5 minutes of my life because I'm not volunteering. Anyway, I don't actually write that back to them. I just delete the email. But if you were to, and I don't need a show of hands, but if you were to, in general, thinking about when you go to a cafe, when you maybe stay at a hotel, maybe when you purchase something, just in general, what's your kind of default, like let's pretend you were going to write reviews. What would be your sort of overarching default? Would your overarching default be positive? You know, like you looked for things that were good about that, and that's what people would and that's what people would read from your reviews. Or are you that person who your default and you kind of lean a bit more on the negative side, like, well, you know, I need to tell you about all these things that were bad or wrong. And really, there's this kind of, it's important to understand which of those kind of persons or people or natural bent you are, and then maybe God might want to actually work with some of that. Now, for example, I know I'm largely a positive person, okay? However, occasionally I have a brain cramp, and that happened to me earlier this year. Harrison and Polena, they were moving house on a Sunday afternoon, got their priorities right, be here at church, then go and move house. They were moving house, and on this Sunday morning, I said to Polena, oh, you poor things. You have to move house this afternoon. Ugh, that's going to suck. And Polena says, no, it's amazing. We're getting to move into a brand new home that we get to start the next chapter of our lives. And I was like legitimately, God reached down from heaven and then just slapped me across the side of the head. And so the next week I said to Polena, I said, thank you so much for pushing back on my stupid brain cramp. Yes, you're right. How exciting. You get to move home. Woohoo. By comparison, there's some people in my broader world that I have to make a mental note to never ask them, how are you? Because I know that I will be taken hostage for the next 5 minutes hearing about how everything is wrong and nothing is right. So I just don't ask them, don't ask them, don't ask them. Now, I acknowledge that it's typically easier to feel gratitude and feel grateful and be grateful when things are going well, okay? But I will put it to you today that not only is it possible to be grateful even when things aren't going well, but actually that's when it's almost more important, when some things in life aren't going well, that we would actually develop the practice and force ourselves to look intentionally for things that are going well. Because I said to the team this morning, no matter how bad things in your life are, it's never all bad. There's always at least one thing, and sometimes looking for that might be the thing that gives you a greater sense of joy and peace and gratitude despite the stuff that's going on in your world. So we're launching this brand new series today called I'm Grateful. We're going to be looking at some of the Psalms, and I'll talk about what they are and why that matters. And just over the next few weeks, just looking at some of the Psalms. And hopefully, wherever you are on the naturally grateful, naturally negative, hopefully we can all move well and truly down that journey to our default becoming more grateful, because I would guarantee you it transforms you from the inside. You will live with more joy and more peace and more freedom if you develop the ability to look for things to be grateful for. All right, so I said the Psalms. Let's jump in. If you've got your Bible app installed, you can scan this. If you've got a hard copy Bible, you can open it. And we're also going to be putting this on the screen, so you'll be able to follow along regardless. And we're going to drop into Psalm 136. So while you're doing that, let's give you a little bit of a backstory. The Psalms, they were kind of written as like songs. Now, we don't know the tune. We don't know how they were like sung. Some people say they do. Maybe they do. I don't know. I'm not going to sing them for you, even if I think I've got a clue as to what they may have sounded like. And you wouldn't want that, trust me. But they're known as collectively as the Songbook of Israel. And the various writers, they wrote about things about God, things that God had done in their nation, in their lives. And when the Jewish people would gather together, and this still happens today, they would recite or say or sing some of these psalms, and they're sort of declarations. Some of them are like, oh, life was actually pretty horrible, but God was always this way. And what I'm going to do today in this particular psalm, this psalm falls into the category known as responsive reading. And this type of psalm was designed to be when the Jewish people gathered in the synagogue. There would be one person up the front, could be the priest, could be the worship leader, who would read the first part of each psalm, and then the people would respond with the next part of the psalm. Now, if you grew up in the Catholic Church like I did, or the Anglican Church, this is actually something you've done. This would be familiar to you, this whole responsive reading things. And we're going to do that today. So, there's a couple of things. Well, three actually. Number one, you have my permission to talk out loud while I'm preaching. Just for today. Secondly, you'll get to say a lot. You'll still be saying things out loud in 25 minutes time from now. You'll nearly say as much in today's message as I will. So that's pretty good. Thirdly, and this is an insistence, too many times growing up in the Catholic Church, when this responsive reading of the Psalms was done, the person up the front would read the bit, and this is what I'd hear from the people in the pews. You're like, okay, let's check for a pulse, people. So, do not sound like that. Sound like you mean it, sound like you're excited, sound like you're alive. And I'm making it even easier for you. The thing that you respond to as we go through this morning's message, it's the exact same line every single time. So you can just like get good at it. So you ready? Psalm 136, verse 1. I'll go first. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. No. All right, sorry. Might have not have made myself clear. Okay, true. Okay, fair enough. I just realized I missed a bit. You say the next line. Okay, sorry. Because I'm like, are they saying that in Mandarin? No, they're not. They're saying okay, I'm very confused. All right, sorry. I say the first line. You'll say the italicized second line, but good. I like the spirit of it. Just wrong line. All right. Shall we try that again? I'm sure we can only get better at this. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. Give thanks to the God of gods. Give thanks to the Lord of lords. Give thanks to him alone who does mighty miracles. See, you'll see in this psalm, there's a rhythm to this, right? And I don't think that's a coincidence. I think the psalmist, one of the things that we can take away from this is pointing to the idea that learning to be grateful and learning to have gratitude become our default actually requires a rhythm. It's a daily thing. It's a throughout each day. It's a 7-day-a-week thing. And it soon becomes our default as we practice the rhythm of gratitude. In fact, this sort of thing pops up. Drink coasters, signs on people's mantelpieces, bumper stickers, this and that. Gratitude is the best attitude, which I think is cool, but I don't think it's 100% accurate. Because if you're not yet somebody whose natural bias or natural default is gratitude, then actually the instruction for you is gratitude is the best habit. That you first need to develop and cultivate intentionally the habit of gratitude. And if you're like, I don't know about that. All right, those of you who are parents, think back to when your kid or kids were 3 years old. Did they ever, at the end of a day, when you were calmly tucking them into bed, 3 years old, look up at you and say, Dad, Mom, I just want to let you know how grateful I am for you both. That every time I ask for McDonald's, you say no because you value my health. And that's why I don't argue with you. I really appreciate that every single evening at 7:30, you put me to bed. That's why I never complain or kick up a fuss. That's why I calmly just walk and put myself into. Mom and Dad, I just want you just to let you know how grateful I am. No? Doesn't sound familiar, parents? No? Exactly. Because I'm not sure that it is actually our default. There's something broken in us. And kids who are, they didn't even know that. So here's the thing. There's a reason why my parents, when I was growing up, had to constantly remind me, what's the magic word? Pretty sure it's thank you. Yeah, duh. So because we have to consciously, intentionally develop the habit of gratitude, which ultimately has the potential to become our default. We become known as grateful people. So I'll give you an example. And I'm just saying, this was me. This week, I wrote them down. I found at least one thing. I found tons of things. I love this stuff. But I made sure I wrote down one of the things that I was grateful for every single day of this week, starting with Monday. Monday morning, I like mowing my lawn. This is just the backstory. I like mowing my lawn. I find it very therapeutic. I like stripes. I like it. Here in Perth, you are not allowed to start a power tool before 7 a.m. So Pastor Marco, as soon as the clock struck 7 o'clock on Monday morning, I was pushing my mower. I'm on it. And I finished. And I'm like, I am grateful for so many aspects of this. I'm grateful that I have a home, lawn to mow, a mower that works, That was just Monday. What a great start to the week. Tuesday morning, I went for an early morning bike ride. And I got off the bike when I finished. And I thought to myself, I really enjoyed that. That was a great bike ride. Wednesday, went for coffee with one of our people here, and they were sharing with me about the growth that they're experiencing. They're going to counseling, they're doing a whole bunch of things, really working on themselves, and things are improving in their life. And when I got home, I was like, I'm really grateful for that person in our church that's actually taking growth seriously. Like, wow, how wonderful. Thursday, had a finance meeting with Liz, who's currently leading our Elevate Kids this morning. She's our treasurer, so we meet every month to review finances and so on and so forth. And I finished that meeting, and I was like, I'm so grateful for every single person who gives financially into Elevate Church. Because if you guys didn't, we wouldn't need to have a finance meeting. We have declared bankruptcy by now. It's like people that take a part of what God's blessed them with and invest it into God's kingdom. I'm so grateful. Friday is my day off, and I potted around in my urban farm. I put in some new tomato seedlings. I've got some more for you next Saturday too, Harry. Some little tomato seedlings that I grow from seed in my greenhouse, put them in. I then harvested the poo from my worm farm, and I sprinkled that around the tomato. And I'm like, and by the way, harvesting like the poo from the worm farm is like, I feel like I'm cheating at life. I feel like what a hack that I have got. Now it's about 12,000 worms who work 24 hours a day for scraps. I'm grateful for that. Yesterday I came in early, I'm part of our operations team here, so I did a bit of mopping, a bit of cleaning, a bit of emptying bins, all the glamorous stuff they don't teach you at Bible college. And as I'm doing that, I'm so grateful for the pioneers who over 40 years plus, 50, 60 years, created all of these facilities that need to be cleaned. And today, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful that you're here. I'm grateful we get to do life together. I'm grateful that God's going to, I expect, make us more grateful people. So here's the thing. I'm going to give you some homework this week. Try that. Monday to Saturday, log one thing. Write it down on your phone, just Monday, one thing that you're grateful for. And just see what God does with that, even over the course of a week. Because when you start to look for things that you're grateful for, guess what? You'll find them. They're there. I'll talk about that in a moment. All right. Back to Psalm 136. So, he's the psalmist, they start to talk about being thankful for God's goodness. Like that's kind of the theme that we see in these first 4 verses. Now, I started talking about reviews. I wonder if you were to review God, like on his webpage, God.com, I don't know, and you were to submit a review about God, like what would it look like? What would it contain? Because this is the psalmist's review about God. He's God, he's good. He does miracles. I wonder if you'd be like, heading of your review, heading, don't even bother. Prayed, God didn't answer, 1 star. Heading, wait time unacceptable. Prayed, God did finally answer, but took too long, 2 stars. Or would it be something like this? Heading, would recommend. Grateful to God, I have food on the table, clothes on my back, and a roof over my head. 5 stars. Or this, heading, worth the wait. Went through a really difficult season in my life. God's presence was with me all the time, and he brought me out the other side. 5 stars. So look, take our inspiration from this psalmist. He reminds us, start here. Subject, God is good. 5 stars. All right, you ready for some more responsive reading? The psalmist then moves on from giving thanks for God's goodness and starts to talk about giving thanks for God's creation. All right, here we go. Give thanks to him who made the heavens so skillfully. Give thanks to him who placed the earth among the waters. Give thanks to him who made the heavenly lights, the sun to rule the day, and the moon and stars to rule the night. Those things on that list, they are still available to us. They are still visible to us. They are still accessible to us. He's just given the psalm is giving thanks to God about stuff that's like right in front of them. When you start to understand God's goodness, you'll start to see his fingerprints everywhere. See, God's creation is a demonstration of his love. 2025, this is more difficult than ever because we tend to spend a lot of our waking hours looking down at a screen, not looking up and looking around at God's creation. And we miss so much about God's creation when we do that. There is a new term in the medical world, it's a true story, called tech neck. And it's people whose posture now, when they're standing up without a phone in their hands, their posture is like, it's called tech neck. The statistics is that the average Australian spends 5 hours a day looking at a screen. Hello. Tech neck. Now, if you're thinking, oh, I think that's me. The good news is help is on the way. There's a product. You can buy it. Read the reviews first. Deliberately invented to help tech neck. It's a true story. And it looks like this. How many of you would buy that? How many of, well, that's zero. Yeah, there you go. Can you imagine sitting on the bus on the way to work, sitting, turn up in the cubicle with it? All right, but anyway, maybe let a friend know. But when we, not just when we spend too much time looking down, but when we spend too much time focusing on what's missing, what's wrong, what's broken, when that's the thing that we focus our attention on, we literally miss what's beautiful right in front of us. So the psalmist starts with talking about being thankful for God's goodness. Secondly, God's creation. Then shifts gears to start talking about God's redemption, God's saving, God's rescue. Now, Instagram, people love to post before and after pics. You know, someone wanted to drop a few kilos, they put the before photo up, and then they put the after photo up, and they put them alongside. Oh, congratulations, well done, fantastic, you know. Or a guy wanted to get a bit more swole, so the guy bought a gym membership and actually used it, just because those two things aren't the same thing. And, you know, starting to get a bit Reese McLaughlin-ish, a bit Reese McBeast-ish. Yeah, all right, okay. Reese knows where I live. I better be careful, especially with those guns. But you know, they put a photo, and then there's people that maybe get just a bit of minor plastic surgery, just a little. They like to put that photo up, just a little, just something minor, and people like to put before and after. This is the same person, by the way. But I wonder how helpful it would be if somehow we were able to capture our life before Jesus and never forget that. And I say never forget that from the point of view of looking at how far God's brought us and just being so grateful for the new joy, the new peace, the new freedom, the new purpose, and yes, the new salvation, of course. But because one thing that I've seen too many people too often do is kind of forget, because this new normal becomes like But we need to remember that we're often living in the scenario that we used to pray for. And to never take that for granted will instantly boost your level of gratitude. So, here's the psalmist kicking things along. Give thanks to him who killed the firstborn of Egypt. I know, some of you are a bit reluctant, like, should we be celebrating that? That sounds a bit dark to me. I think you're right. And I don't have time to unpack that, but just take my word for it, it was a good thing. Anyway, he brought Israel out of Egypt. He acted with a strong hand and powerful arm. Give thanks to him who parted the Red Sea. You know, I love when we were singing the song Jehovah this morning, there's a line in there that says his arms never tire. Aren't you grateful that God's arms never tire, that when you need help, he actually doesn't quit, he doesn't tap out. He's not like the world wrestling. He's not like, sorry, I know you still need my help, but I'm exhausted. Doesn't do that. No, he acts with a strong hand and a powerful arm. This gratitude just rises when we focus on this stuff. Now, this psalmist, he's giving us a little glimpse of the highlight reel of the nation of Israel. Some of the high points culminating at this point of the psalm in where God parted the Red Sea and the people of Israel went through it, and then God closed the sea and the pursuing armies of Egypt got swept away. Here's the thing. Don't ever forget the Red Sea moments in your life. I've just come through the two hardest years of my life in life and in ministry. And here's two things that I learned. Well, there's like 2,000 things I learned. Two of the things I learned in that time. Number one, I needed to look for something to be grateful for every day, because every day for 2 years I felt horrible, right? But I knew I just needed to find one thing. And some days I could only find one thing. Now, I'm through that, and that's why my gratitude list is kind of like out of control now. But it was so important in that time. And here's my commitment is my commitment is to do my best to never forget that was a Red Sea moment for me, and God has ultimately brought me through that. And you guys have Red Sea moments in your life. And remembering those should increase our gratitude. So, grateful for God's goodness. Hello. Grateful for God's creation. Grateful for God's rescue. And then finishes, I'm going to fast forward right through, grateful for God's provision. You ready? He remembered us in our weakness. He saved us from our enemies. He gives food to every living thing. Give thanks to the God of heaven. Come on now. See, this is one of the things that just to know that when things are up, when things are down, when some things are up, when some things are down, the one thing that never changes is his faithful love endures forever. So, this is the psalm that Marco wrote this week. And it's a responsive reading psalm. It's not in the Bible, but it's true nevertheless. So we're going to keep doing the responsive reading thing. Are you ready? Good, me too. When the bills are paid and there's food on the table. When the diagnosis is scary and the outcome is uncertain. When you feel unappreciated. When you're celebrating a win. When you're grieving a loss. When your marriage is strong and healthy. When the relationship is hanging on by a thread. When your kids love Jesus with their whole heart. When you're praying for your kids daily because you know how much they need Jesus. When you're walking in freedom. When you're fighting temptation. When you've been lied about and betrayed. When doors open. When doors slam shut. When God seems like he's taking too long. When you're feeling stressed or anxious. Even when you don't know what tomorrow holds, you know who holds tomorrow. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. Are you getting it? You getting it? I said to our team this morning, I hope that line pops up in your brain every day this week, even if it sneaks up on you. Oh, what was the line again? Here's a clue. The message notes, just in case you didn't already know that, the message notes every week are in our app. So if you haven't already, you can scan that flow code. Diane, I'm going to give you some tech neck support this morning, by the way, because all of the stuff from the Psalms is going to be in there in our message notes in our app too, by the way. So if you're like, his faith, his there's something about endurance. It's all there. And so yeah, homework. One thing every day for the next 7 days. Start today. Sunday's the first day of the week, by the way. Start today. You may already have one thing. You're like, actually, I'm glad I came to church this morning. Good, me too. And let it, the habit of cultivating gratitude intentionally. Let God use that for that to become your default. Because here's the thing, even if it's not your default, you know people and it's their default. And you like them. You like being around them. I mean, sometimes you might think, ugh, can't believe they do that. But there's something in that God can transform from the inside out. Okay, that's it. Week 1 of our brand new series. I'm grateful.
We really hope you got a lot out of this message. If you live in the Perth area, we'd love for you to join one of our live experiences. For times and directions, as well as information, head to our website, elevatechurch.me. For those of you beyond the Perth area, we'd love for you to connect with our online experience, which premieres every Sunday via YouTube and Facebook Live, and on demand immediately after. And to partner with us to reach more people by giving financially, head to our website, elevatechurch.me, and also download our Elevate Church AU app.